Level 1. The volunteer. The cadre member doesn't look up when you walk in. You're standing in a hallway at Fort Bragg with 11 other soldiers, all of you in civilian clothes per the instructions, all of you pretending you're not sizing each other up. A sheet of paper was slid under your barracks door 6 days ago. No letterhead, no unit insignia, just a time, a building number, and 4 words at the bottom. Tell no one you're here. You told no one. You've been in the Army 4 years, Ranger Battalion, 2 deployments, a combat infantryman badge, and a reputation inside your platoon as the guy who doesn't rattle. Someone passed your name upward. You don't know who. You didn't ask. The invitation arrived and something in your chest went very still when you read it, the way things go still when something real is about to happen. The cadre member finally looks up. He's maybe 40, no rank visible. He looks at you the way a mechanic looks at an engine, not unkindly, just functionally, like he's already running diagnostics. He says, "You understand that by being here, you've agreed to nothing and we've promised you nothing." You say yes. He says, "Good. Most people who leave here will leave voluntarily. Keep that in mind." He goes back to his paperwork. You stand there and understand for the first time that you have just entered something that does not need you. That distinction matters. Every unit you've ever been in needed warm bodies to fill roles. This place has a waiting list of the most capable soldiers in the military, and it is utterly indifferent to whether you specifically survive the next phase. That indifference is the first test. You don't flinch. Level 2. The assessment candidate. They don't tell you what's coming. That's the architecture of it. Selection, officially called assessment and selection, spoken as a single flat phrase by everyone who's been through it, runs for approximately 3 weeks of land navigation events, ruck marches, and psychological evaluation, followed by several weeks of operator training course if you're among the fraction who pass. The marches have no defined finish lines. You're handed a topo map, a compass, and a set of grid coordinates, and you move. How far? Unknown. How long? Unknown. There are no pep talks. There are no progress updates. Cadre observe but do not engage. You move in silence with no external feedback whatsoever. You carry a rucksack that averages 55 pounds. You cover between 40 and 60 miles over unknown terrain in the final event, which the community calls the Long Walk, moving alone through the mountains of West Virginia in October. The temperature drops to 29 degrees overnight. Your feet are wrecked by day 2. You develop a blister the size of a silver dollar on your left heel and you stop thinking about it and you keep moving. The hardest thing is the uncertainty. Your mind wants a finish line. It wants to negotiate with the discomfort. Just get to that ridge. Just get to the next creek crossing. But there's no defined endpoint to negotiate towards. You have to learn to move without destination as your motivation. You have to find something internal to move towards instead. You find it around hour 31. You can't explain what it is. It's not heroism. It's not duty. It's something more animal. A refusal, deep and quiet, to be the version of yourself that stops. You don't stop. 63 candidates entered assessment. 12 pass. Your name is on the list. A cadre member reads it out without ceremony, the way you'd read a grocery list. You feel something close to calm. Not pride. Calm. Like a dial settling. Level 3. The new operator. Your first designation is assaulter, troop, B squadron. You don't tell your family what unit you're in. You tell them you've been reassigned to a special training program. That technically isn't a lie, it just isn't the truth either. You've already begun practicing a version of yourself that exists for public consumption and a version that doesn't. The 2 versions have different vocabularies, different stories, different details. You manage the boundary between them without effort after about 6 weeks. The operator training course runs 6 months. It is, without question, the most technically dense education you've ever received. Advanced breaching, close quarters battle at a level that makes Ranger School look like a rehearsal, marksmanship standards that require you to place rounds into a target the size of a playing card at distances where most soldiers aren't even aiming. Driving courses, language instruction, trauma medicine, static line and free fall continuation, signals and communications. You absorb it like dry ground absorbs water, completely, immediately, no surface pooling. Your first operational deployment, you're on a hit in a compound in a country you'll describe only as somewhere for the rest of your life. The target isn't there. You clear 12 rooms in 40 seconds and find a mattress that's still warm and documents that get handed to an intelligence officer you've never seen before or will never see again. You fly back to the staging base. You eat a meal. You clean your kit. You go to sleep. You wake up at 2 a.m. for another brief. This is the rhythm. Constant forward motion inside a machine so large and precise that your individual position inside it feels almost abstract. You are one operator in one troop, in one squadron of an organization that runs global operations continuously, in multiple theaters simultaneously. The scale of it is something you feel but can't fully see, like standing too close to a structure to perceive its full shape. You do the work. You come home changed in ways you don't have language for yet. Level 4, the seasoned operator. 3 years in, 5 deployments. You've been on 41 direct action missions. You've done sensitive site exploitation in 4 countries. You've pulled triggers in situations that were clean and situations that were ambiguous. And you've sought with both kinds without resolution, because resolution isn't something this work offers. You've lost one teammate. Kowalski, B Troop, IED on a vehicle interdiction in a river valley 2 years ago, August. You went to his funeral and stood at the graveside and felt the particular weight of that kind of loss, which is not like civilian grief. It has a different architecture, more compressed, more load-bearing. You don't talk about Kowalski except for people who were there. Your skills have compounded into something integrated. You move through a building differently than you did at the start. Not faster, but more economically. Less motion, more outcome. You've developed a quality that the veteran operators call feel, an intuitive read of space and situation and threat that processes below conscious thought. You make decisions in fractions of seconds that are technically correct in ways you couldn't explain step by step if asked. Your personal life exists in segments. You're home for stretches of weeks and then gone for stretches of months. The woman you've been with for 3 years is patient in a way that you recognize as finite. She doesn't ask about the work. You appreciate that, and it also creates a silence between you that grows incrementally, like interest accumulating on a debt neither of you is ready to address. On your last night home before a deployment, she asks if you're ever going to be done. You say you don't know. That's the most honest thing you've said in months. Level 5, the team leader. You're running a 4-man element now. The designation is team leader, which in Delta carries weight that the same title in a conventional unit doesn't approximate. Your 4 men are each individually among the top 1% of combat operators alive. Your job is to make them a single functional organism, to synchronize 4 extremely capable, extremely independent people into one coordinated instrument. You brief missions with a precision that takes you an hour to prepare for every 5 minutes of delivery. Every contingency, every branch plan, every abort criterion, every communication protocol. You rehearse until the actions are motor memory. You rehearse again. You've started being included in pre-mission intelligence briefs that go beyond the operational details. You're getting strategic context now, understanding the network you're operating against, the long game of the campaign, how a single night's hit connects to a chain of events that intelligence analysts have been tracking for 2 years. You think at a different scale than you did as a new operator. The picture is wider. The moral arithmetic is more complex. There are missions you execute that you carry quietly, not because they were wrong. The decision authority above you ran those determinations through processes you weren't part of, but because complexity doesn't disappear just because authorization exists. You've learned to hold complexity without needing to resolve it. That's not numbness. It's a more mature form of engagement with hard things. Your woman is gone. Clean break, no drama. She said she couldn't build a life with a ghost. You didn't argue. You helped her move her things on a Sunday and drove home and sat in a quiet apartment and recognized that the apartment suited you. Silent, minimal, everything in its place. You called your mother that night, talked for 40 minutes about nothing important. That was enough. Level 6, the Sergeant Major. You're 41 years old and you've been in the unit for 15 years. Your title is Sergeant Major, and in Delta's flat hierarchy, it means you are one of the senior NCO architects of how the organization operates at the human level. You don't run breaching operations anymore. You shape the culture, the standards, the institutional memory of a squadron of operators who are on average 15 years younger than you. New candidates come through selection and you watch them the way the cadre member watched you 20 years ago, with diagnostic calm, looking for the thing underneath the physical capability. You can identify it in about 48 hours now. The ones who have it don't know they have it. The ones who think they have it usually don't. You've conducted over 200 combat operations across your career. That number lives in you the way scar tissue lives. Not painful, not visible, just structurally present, part of the load-bearing architecture. You brief congressmen twice a year in rooms with no windows. You answer questions in careful, precise language that conveys the minimum necessary truth. You're not being evasive, you're being accurate in a context where accuracy requires enormous discipline. One imprecise sentence in that room becomes a headline. You understand the information environment the way you understand terrain. Your body has been repaired surgically 3 times. Left knee, right shoulder, 2 compressed vertebrae that a surgeon told you matter-of-factly would give you problems in your 60s. You filed that information and moved on. You mentor 1 operator per year in a formal sense. Take them to dinner once a month. Talk about the long game. Talk about what the work costs and what it's worth and how to stay functional over a 15-year arc inside something this demanding. You do this because no one did it for you, and you watched good operators burn out or dissolve by year 10 because no one told them the costs were coming. You were trying to give people a map you didn't have. Level 7, the commander. Your rank is Lieutenant Colonel, and your command is the entirety of one of Delta's operational squadrons. The decisions that reach your desk are not tactical anymore. They are strategic and legal and political simultaneously. A target package arrives, and before it becomes a mission, it passes through your judgment. Intelligence reliability, rules of engagement, strategic value, risk to force, diplomatic exposure, second-order effects in the theater. You make calls in 20 minutes that took a committee 2 weeks to produce the paperwork for. You are in a chain of command that runs directly to 4-star level, and in some cases to civilian leadership above that. You understand, without needing it explained, that you are a precision instrument of national policy. That understanding carries a particular gravity. You don't make that weight smaller by intellectualizing it. You carry it fully, and you make decisions anyway. Your calendar has not had a blank day in 4 years. You sleep 6 hours on a good night. You exercise at 0430 OT because it's the only hour that belongs entirely to you. You've become disciplined about the margins, protecting the small things that keep you functional because the large things will consume everything if you let them. There's a version of you that your children know. Patient father, present on weekends, good at the grill, attentive at school events. That version is real. It is also partial. Your wife knows more than your children do, and she knows less than your XO does, and your XO knows less than you do, and what you know in full is something you will carry alone for the rest of your life. That's the agreement. You made it with your eyes open. Level 8, the Ghost General. You carry 1 star. Nobody outside a very short list knows your name in connection to your current role. You don't appear on public military websites. Your bio in official documents is a paragraph of carefully true sentences that communicate nothing. You've been in this world for 26 years, and you've reached the place where the architecture of the enterprise is visible to you in full. The whole shape of it, the history, the bureaucratic skeleton, the operational philosophy, the failures and the achievements and the costs. You move between Washington and Fort Bragg and forward locations in a rotation that has no fixed schedule. You live out of a small set of bags that you've packed and repacked so many times the process takes 3 minutes. You own a house in North Carolina that you sleep in perhaps 90 nights a year. You are the most operationally experienced general officer in the United States military, and approximately 300 people know you exist. There are no movies about you. There are no books with your name in them. The operations you've commanded, the ones that shifted things, that removed architects of violence, that disrupted networks that would have produced mass casualties, exist in classified files in buildings with biometric locks. The public history of the last 2 decades has gaps in it. You are some of those gaps. You sit in a secure conference room at the Pentagon and you look at a map that covers 3 continents and 30 active operations, and you feel something very quiet. Not pride, not satisfaction, something closer to comprehension, a full accounting of what this life has been, what it cost, what it produced, and what it means that you're still here making these decisions while the men who taught you how to move through a building are mostly retired or dead. You don't miss the field work. That surprises you less than it used to. You think sometimes about the candidate who stood in that hallway at Fort Bragg in civilian clothes, pretending not to size up the men beside him. You remember what he wanted. You remember what he thought this was. He wasn't wrong about everything. He just didn't know yet what the price tag was or how long the invoice takes to arrive. Your phone lights up. An operation in a time zone 10 hours ahead needs a command decision in the next 4 minutes. You make it. Clean. Final. No hesitation. The map updates.